Hello guys, welcome to part 4, the final part. So let's do the two remaining operators. So the second last is the stream insertion operator. So let's implement that. That one is easy, I know it by head. So let's implement stream insertion operator. So before we implement the stream insertion, what is stream insertion and what is stream extraction? Stream insertion looks like this, and then stream extraction looks like that. So this is extraction. So we're extracting or we're getting, and then stream insertion, we are inserting or putting something the into the stream. So the way this works, right? Remember we use C out and we use C in. And if you remember, the data types of these objects are I stream for input stream and O stream for output stream. As you can see, there they are. If you don't believe me, there's the documentation. There's O stream, C out is for O stream. O means output, I means input, and then stream is just a stream. So I can even check examples for this. Stream. Let me see. Yeah. So this is an example of a stream, right? As you can see, it's let me make this like this. So as you can see, this is an example of a stream, right? A water stream. So there's a stream of water. In C++, it uses a similar concept, but now instead of all those waters there, all the water that's there, you're gonna have characters. So characters meaning your strings. Those are your characters. So if you check the stream insertion operator, in simple terms, what we are doing is we're inserting an extraction. It's a means of it's a means of us working with this console. We can view this as like the stream itself. This is the stream itself. We have highlighted everything. That's what we regard as a stream. How do I insert? By using cout or by using some object of a stream in order for me to work with streams. So in order for me to output this on the console, how do I do that? I cout. I use an object of output stream or O stream. Remember that this is declared like this: extern O stream cout, right? This is cout. That's how it's been declared. This is the type. You don't have to worry about this yet. You're gonna deal with this when you get to DLLs. It's is it dynamically linked libraries? Yeah, I think that's the term for it. When you do DLLs, that's where you're gonna use this keyword extern. For now, you don't have to worry about it. So you're gonna have the OStream object. This is the type. It's a different type of a stream. So output, it means that it's for mainly for output. So it's mainly supposed to be seen by the user on the console, this terminal. So that's why you're able to see this. Remember that this is formatted into one string. It's viewed as one thing. So that's why when I use cout, it gets displayed like this. So if you check how cout and cin works, so let's just do a simple demonstration. Is equals to 100, right? So this is how I would cout and line, right? So what happens is that this is the object that I use to reference my terminal, or what is the terminal? This is the black thing that loads. This thing. This is what I call it. This thing that loads when you run a C++ program. That's the terminal or the console. So by cout, you can view as that C letter as the console. Console, or another word for it is terminal. Terminal output. Basically, output to the console. What am I outputting? 100. That's why when I say see out, it actually shows the 100 on the screen. As you can see, it shows the 100 on the screen. There it is here at the bottom. It works because it's the O stream that I've inserted into the O stream. The O stream is meant for outputting. Then the I stream, the other one that was declared like this, I stream cin, like this one that was declared like this. This is the input stream. So we get input via the terminal. So I get something from the user via the terminal. So I say cin like this. Look at the direction. The important thing is the direction of the arrows. This is extraction. It's from this console. This is an object that I use to get information from the console. As you can see, from the console, take in the information. And you can use functions like get line, which gets the whole line of the in the input stream, gets the whole line. You can use all those functions, whatever. But the main point is cin. It's it's the console input. You are taking input from the console or input from that black thing that loads when you run a C++ program. In other words, they use it as a terminal, whatever. That's another term for it. So if I do this, I'm saying take whatever is typed on the terminal after the cursor. Remember that the cursor this is the thing that's loading. You see this white thing here? That's the cursor. So whatever is typed, let's say you type 45. That 45 is going to be stored. I'm going to reference that 45 via this object. So take that 45 and put it inside A. But then there's special functions that are going to be used in here to convert, because remember by default it's going to be a string. It's going to be like this. The console works with strings. It loves strings. That's how it works. So by default it's going to be like this, and then it pushes it into this variable, as you can see with the direction. And then before it pushes it, it's going to check what's the type of the variable that I'm trying to push into. It's integer. Then it converts it. When it has to transfer, it gets converted. So it's like this. It says 45. And then this part, it converts it to 45. And then by the time it gets there, A now gets a value of 45. So that's something very important to take note of. So let's input and see what happens. So after inputting, I want to display the value. So as you can see, it's gonna show me this cursor. I use cin. I'd say that I'm gonna use this input stream. So I'm gonna get a value via the terminal. So 45. Remember, by default, it's gonna be a string, and then it gets converted to an integer. And then I display it. As you can see, after it's 45, I've taken input from the user via this console. I've referenced to this console using these objects, cin and cout. So that's the important thing. So you're inserting into this object. It's an OStream object, right? So it's the exact same thing that we're gonna do here. We're gonna insert into that object. But there's a very important difference here. You can only implement it as friend functions. So as a friend, it's not part of the class. It's just I'm just borrowing. So I'm just borrowing implementation from my friend. So my friend is this one. So it's supposed to return an OStream reference. Remember, we must always return references for faster compilation time. And the OStream is inside the standard namespace. If you don't believe me, let's check again. So I need to specify that it's from the standard namespace. There they are, right? The OStream. And it's in the standard namespace. So let's do that. Specify that it's from the standard namespace. As you can see, it's highlighted. And then I'm going to say operator. Which operator do I want to use? I'm creating an O stream for output, so I must use the insertion. Why is it insertion? Because I'm inserting characters onto the console. So instead of, it's like the vice versa version of it getting input. So instead of it getting input via the terminal, it's inputting into the terminal so that you can see those characters. So the direction is to be like this. And then it takes into things. So since it's taking into things and they must not change. Remember that these objects must not change. You must take in the OStream object by reference, right? And then this is going to be the left-hand side. Remember that the operator always works with left, especially if it's a binary operator, it works with left and right. So there's always an operator between. For example, 1 plus 1. There's an operator in between. I have a left value and a right value. And then I have this cout object, right? I have a left value, I have a right value. There's the operator. And then I'm going to say pass the object, the matrix object by reference. And it's const because I just want to display it on the console. I don't want to change it. And then that's it. And then I copy all of this. But then now when you implement it, you remove the friend keyword. That's something very important that you need to be aware of. You remove the friend keyword. So there's no need for you to put the friend keyword. And I'm using namespace standard. There's no need for me to do this. And don't put this. Remember, it's a friend of the class. It's not part of the class. If you do this, it's going to give you an error. It'll be like, okay, it's not defined. So you shouldn't do that. It's not part of the class. So you leave it like this. It's a friend to the class. They're just friends. It's not part of the class. And I can remove this because I'm using standard namespace. And then now I have those two things, the OStream, the output object. And remember, I'm going to use it now. So I'm going to say OStream, O left-hand side, the OStream on the left-hand side, and then my object obj on the right-hand side. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to return O left-hand side like this. That's what I'm going to return at the end of the day. So the thing that I need to do now is insert into the O string. That's why it's called, what is this? Stream insertion operator. That's why it's called that. So I'm going to say int r is equals to 0, r is less than, then I'm going to have obj matrix dot, no, obj right hand side. It's not obj right hand side dot underscore row. Okay, it's a friend. Remember, it's a friend. It's not part of the class. I can't use the private member variables. I have to use the accessor methods. One, it's a friend. It's a friend in the sense that it works the same way as if I'm using my main. As you can see in my main, I don't use dot underscore. I don't use private variables. So I need to use accessor methods there. And then that. So in a way, the stream insertion operator, it's like I'm using the toString function. It's going to have the same implementation as my toString. You see that just now. But then instead of pushing it into the string stream, I'm pushing it into the O string or output stream. So since I'm going to push into the output stream, I don't have to call the toString and then push the toString and push the string into the output stream using the cout object. I don't have to do that. And then now I'm going to go through all the columns and C is equals to 0. C is less than obj right hand side dot get calls. And then C++. And then the same way, remember when you said SS like this, the same way. But then we are putting it into the output, output stream. which is the console. So output the very same thing, the array, obj right hand side dot underscore values, that specific row and column, and then followed by a space at the end. And then I'm gonna say, oh, left hand side, output an end of line character like this. And then we are done implementing it. As you can see, it's exactly the same implementation as our toString. The only difference is that I was pushing it into the string stream, not the output stream. With this one, I'm pushing it into the O stream. So now, since I've pushed it into the O stream, I can reference it like this. I can just say cout. Okay, let me say cout testing stream insertion operator. And then I'm gonna say cout. What's the object that I want to output? It can be any object. So let me just say object matrix, right? Inline. So I've pushed the object into the output stream so that now when I use cout and I reference this, it works the same way as the types. Remember when you say cout A, why was it working? Because A is of type integer like this, and int is defined in the output string. So I had to define this so that you can work with this operator. As you can see, this operator works perfectly fine now. As you can see, it's gonna run with no issues. There we go. There's the stream insertion operator. It's outputting the same way it was outputting at the beginning. Yeah, I can remove this. There's no need for me outputting it like this. I was just writing it there. That first line is not necessary. I can just put the lines where I'm testing the code or testing the operators. So I'm done with that. Now we're left with this one. Probably the easiest one. So it's the pre-increment. So it's before. So it's the pre-increment. So they said you increment each element in the array. This is the easiest one by far. Let me show you how it's done. So how do you do pre-increment? You do it like this. What is supposed to return? A matrix to the object. And then I say operator plus plus. And then done. That's the code. I'm saying matrix 2D because if you think about it, let's say I have int a, and then I say plus plus a. What does this mean? This translates to a is equals to a plus 1. So at the end of the day, this is just an integer. I get back an integer. So it's the same thing here. I don't want to get back an address. I want to get back the value. Keep that in mind. It's the value, not the address. This one is unique because you don't get back we really need the value, not the address. If you get back the address, yeah, it's going to be a problem. Let's get back the value. And remember what I said about the what is this? The this operator. It's going to be very crucial here. Remember that when I say when you dereference, what it means you're getting back the matrix 2D. So I dereference, I return this. So I return myself my own value after I've incremented. How do you increment? They said you should increment every single value in the array, every single value by 1. How do I do that? Remember that it's a coordinate system, so I need to go through all of my rows and all of my columns. I'm using the underscore rows or the private member variables because remember, it's part of the class, this one. So it has access to private member variables. Just keep that in mind. Keep that difference in mind. And then C is less than underscore columns, C plus plus. And then since I'm not gonna have more than one line, I'm just gonna leave it like this. No curly braces needed. So now I'm gonna increment. It's very simple. Underscore values are C. So in a way, I am reusing the pre-increment that's defined in the integer class. Why am I saying so? Remember that this values array, when I call it like this, I'm returning an individual value at that specific coordinate, XY coordinate. In our example, it's RC coordinate. So I get back an integer. I get back one integer. Let's say it's 5. It's 3 at that specific coordinate. And then I add 1 to 3. It becomes a 4. So I'm actually overloading. As you can see, I'm adding to an integer. So I'm reusing the pre-increment that's defined in the integer class, but then to implement it into my own data type, the matrix 2D. Therefore, that's the end of the session. Let's just test this one out. Test pre-increment operator. And line like this, and then I'm gonna say C out OBJ matrix, add 1 at every single index, at every single XY coordinate. It should work perfectly fine. Okay, I don't know why it's doing that. Does it want me? Hmm. Let's see. OBJ matrix set values, blah, blah, blah. It's fine, boss. It wants to work like, nah, it shouldn't work like this. Let me see. Or maybe if I do it like this, it's gonna, let me just test. Yeah, it's not gonna work. I guess, let me see. What did they say here? It should work exactly like that. Okay. So like this. It's not adding though. Let's check what's the issue here. But everything seems to be fine. Let's just double check the code. But to be honest, I think my code is fine. It's correct. I don't think we should face any issues. Plus, plus. Let's just double check code here. Come on. Where's that operator? Yeah, there it is, plus plus. Yeah, it's the pre-increment. It's the same one. I don't see where they implement it though. Or maybe it gets implemented below. Let me check. Yeah, I think it's implemented here. I need to keep looking. Yeah, I didn't see the implementation though. Uh, let's just double check and debug and see what's the issue. I'm sure it's going to be a very small thing, like a small issue. So let's check. Post increment as nah. This is post though. Yeah. Yeah, that's post. I want the pre-increment. Okay, there it is. There's the pre-increment. As you can see, it's exactly the same thing. Increment the object by 1 and return the object. As you can see, this is the correct formula. It's pre-increment, it's the correct formula. So do, 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 do. Then why is it not adding? Let's do this. I'm not sure, but it could be this issue. I'm not sure, but let's just double check. If that's not the issue, okay, that's not it. Okay, so if this is not the issue, then it's this part. So me trying to combine these two. It's where it's complaining. J matrix. I think when you try to combine them, it's not gonna output perfectly. Yeah, when you try to combine, yeah, as you can see, it did increment. Every value is increased by 1. Let's start at 5. 5 plus 1, that's a 6. 1 plus 1, that's a 2. 1 plus 1, that's a 2. 4 plus 1, that's a 5. And then at the end, there's a 9. 8. 8 plus 1 is a 9. Yeah, it's adding as intended. I just don't know why it's not working when it's combined with the stream insertion. Yeah, I don't know why it's not working when it's combined with the stream insertion. Du- 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 du. There's a non-member function, so you take that. If you look at this, is it a non-member function? So see out this. It could be a non-member function, so let's do that. It should be pre-increment as a non-member function. So let's try and implement it as a non-member function. I think if we implement it as a non-member function like this, then it's gonna work as intended. Then let's check. Yeah, that's fine. Then we take in a matrix 2D by reference. So we take a matrix 2D by reference. Then I come here, I remove this because it's no longer part of the class. It acts as a friend. So I'm gonna have this obj, obj matrix because I can't say left or yeah, I can't really say that left or right. And then I'm gonna do this dot, and then you should return the object itself, obj matrix. Okay, yeah, it needs to be, and it's not part of the class, it's a friend, so I need to get the rows via accessors and the columns too. So obj matrix dot get calls. like this, and then build. That should be fine. Okay, let's just test. Yeah, it works as intended, but let's test with when you combine it. When you combine step one, step two, it's a non-member function. So let's see if that's gonna work. Hmm. It still doesn't wanna work. I don't know. And we did everything. It's perfectly fine. Yeah, but I don't know. Let's just leave it like this. So there's two ways you can implement it, as a non-member or as a member function. So I'm just gonna leave it the way it was as a member function, like this, then undo. There we go. We're done. Yeah, that's everything that you need to do for the practical. For less is practical though. That's how you approach the operator overloading. You just look at the documentation or the textbook, and then you confirm based on your problem statement how you're supposed to solve it, how you're supposed to implement it. Should it be a non-member function or a member function? What should I calculate? What should it return, etc. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching.